the Council's contempt. Captain David Torres stepped through the airlock into Station Eternal, and the sight took his breath away. The station hung in neutral space between three galaxies, a structure so massive it had its own gravity. Crystalline towers spiraled upward in impossible geometry, and streams of ships moved like rivers of light between docking platforms. This was the seat of galactic power, where 70 civilizations gathered to decide the fate of trillions. David adjusted his uniform and walked toward the assembly hall. His footsteps echoed on floors made from compressed starlight, a material humans still did not fully understand. Alien beings of every description passed him in the corridors. Some walked on legs, others floated, and a few moved in ways that hurt to watch. Most ignored him completely. To them he was just another human barely worth noticing. The assembly hall stretched before him like a cathedral built for giants. 70 seats rose in tiers around a central platform, each designed for a different species. The Kryn occupied seats of living metal that shifted to match their moods. The Quillari sat in pools of liquid nitrogen, their crystalline bodies refracting light into rainbow patterns. The Torvan delegation perched on platforms of pure energy, their forms barely visible to human eyes. David found the human section tucked into a corner near the back. A single chair, human-sized, with a small desk and outdated translation equipment. It had been placed there 30 years ago when humanity first petitioned for membership. The position had not improved since. Council leader Vraxen called the session to order. His species, the Zargathi, resembled massive bears covered in metallic scales. His voice rumbled through the chamber like distant thunder. Today they would discuss resource allocation, territorial boundaries, and trade agreements. David listened carefully, his expression neutral, as the council debated matters affecting billions of lives across known space. Hours passed. The Quillari argued with the Torvan over mining rights in the Andrus cluster. The Kryn demanded better shipping routes through the Veil Nebula. Every decision involved vast amounts of wealth and power. The council members treated these matters with appropriate gravity, their voices serious and their arguments detailed. Then Vraxen mentioned humanity. The atmosphere in the chamber changed immediately. David felt it like a physical shift in the air. Several aliens made sounds that their species used for laughter. Others simply looked away as if the topic bored them. Counselor Thress spoke first. Her people, the Mitrax, looked like enormous mantises covered in jeweled armor. Her voice carried clear contempt. The human question must be addressed. They occupy 17 systems in the Orion sector, systems that contain valuable heavy metals and rare isotopes. These resources are wasted on a species that barely understands basic fusion technology. David kept his face calm. Behind his left ear, a tiny device recorded every word, every gesture, every vote. On Earth and across human colonies, millions watched this session in real time. But the Council did not know that. They thought humans had only primitive communications, that messages took weeks to travel between stars. The Torvan delegate flickered with colors that indicated amusement. Perhaps we were too generous. 40 years ago, we granted humans access to these systems thinking they would develop quickly. Instead, they struggle to maintain basic colonies. Their trade contribution to the galactic economy is negligible. More laughter rippled through the chamber. The Quillari delegate's crystalline body chimed like breaking glass. Their ships are slow. Their technology is outdated. They ask for help with problems our children could solve. Why do we continue to humor them? David remained seated, his hands folded on the desk. He had attended these sessions for 3 years. He had learned that interrupting only made things worse. The council enjoyed demonstrating their superiority. Speaking up gave them opportunities to mock humanity more directly. Vraxen raised one massive paw for silence. The assembly recognizes that the human presence in the Orion sector represents an inefficient use of valuable space. Therefore, I propose the Orion Reorganization Initiative. The 17 human systems will be transferred to Zargathi administration. Humans may relocate to 4 designated systems in the Outer Rim. David felt ice form in his stomach, but his expression did not change. For systems. They wanted to move 3 billion humans into 4 systems. The Outer Rim systems were resource-poor, far from trade routes, barely capable of supporting colonies. What about the human populations currently living in those systems? David asked, his voice steady. How long will they have to relocate? Vraxen looked at him the way someone might look at an insect that had learned to speak. 48 standard hours should be sufficient. Humans reproduce quickly. You will adapt. 48 hours to evacuate 3 billion people. It was impossible. It would take years to safely move that many humans, even with every ship humanity possessed. And the council knew it. They were not expecting compliance. They were demonstrating power, showing humanity its place in the galactic order. The vote was called. David watched as seats lit up across the chamber. Green lights indicated approval. Red lights indicated opposition. The tally appeared on the central display. 67 green lights. 3 red lights from smaller species who remembered being bullied themselves. 0 yellow abstentions. The Orion Reorganization Initiative passes with overwhelming support, Vraxen announced. Humanity has 48 standard hours to begin evacuation procedures. Failure to comply will result in forced relocation by Council security forces. The session continued with other business. The Council moved on to discussing trade tariffs as if they had not just voted to displace billions of sentient beings. David sat quietly, his mind racing behind calm eyes. He waited until the session ended and the delegates began leaving the chamber. In the corridor outside, Councillor Thress approached him. Her mandibles clicked with amusement. I hope you understand, Captain Torres. This is not personal. The galaxy must be managed efficiently. Resources cannot be wasted on species that lack the capacity to use them properly. David met her multifaceted eyes. I understand perfectly, Counselor. Thank you for making your position so clear. She walked away, satisfied that the human had accepted his place. David waited until he was alone, then activated his secure communicator. The device was more advanced than anything the Council suspected humans possessed. The message was brief, coded in a language that would mean nothing to alien interceptors. Control, this is Torres. Recommend immediate implementation of Chimera Protocol. Council has revealed true intentions. All diplomatic options exhausted. Awaiting confirmation. The response came back in seconds, impossibly fast for primitive human communications. Chimera Protocol confirmed. Admiral Cross has been notified. Return to Olympus immediately. The masquerade ends at dawn. David walked back to his shuttle, a small vessel that looked outdated and slow. The Council had approved its design years ago, laughing at human engineering. They had no idea the ship contained technology that would revolutionize their understanding of physics. As his shuttle lifted away from Station Eternal, David looked back at the massive structure one final time. The aliens inside believed they had just put humanity in its place. They believed humans would either comply with impossible demands or be swept aside like debris. They had no idea what was coming. For 150 years, humanity had been playing a very careful game. Tonight the game ended. Tomorrow the galaxy would learn what humans really were. His shuttle jumped to faster-than-light speed, moving at velocities the Council thought impossible for human technology. David set course for Mars, where the real power of humanity waited in secret chambers beneath Olympus Mons. He had 46 hours until the Council's deadline. It would be enough. The message from Admiral Cross came through as he traveled. Brief. Direct. Exactly what David expected. All assets are go. Operation Chimera launches in 30 hours. Let them laugh while they still can. David allowed himself a small smile. The Council had made their choice. Now they would face the consequences. Humanity had been patient for a very long time. That patience was about to pay off in ways the galaxy could never have imagined. The hidden truth unleashed. David's shuttle descended through the Martian atmosphere, but not toward any of the known human colonies visible from orbit. Instead, he dove toward Olympus Mons, the largest volcano in the solar system. To any observer, his ship appeared to crash into the mountain's western slope. In reality, he passed through a holographic projection that had fooled alien sensors for over a century. The hidden hangar stretched for kilometers inside the mountain. Hundreds of ships filled the space, vessels that should not exist according to what the galaxy knew of human technology. Sleek warships with weapons that bent spacetime. Carriers that could deploy entire fleets. Scout ships capable of jumping across galaxies in minutes. All of them hidden, waiting for this moment. David landed his shuttle and stepped out onto the deck. Thousands of personnel moved with practiced efficiency, preparing for operations that would reshape galactic politics forever. He took a transport tube that dropped him 3 kilometers deeper into Mars, past levels of laboratories, command centers, and living quarters that housed 50,000 people the Council did not know existed. Admiral Catherine Cross waited for him in the main command center. She was a tall woman with silver hair and eyes that missed nothing. Behind her, holographic displays showed star maps covering not just the Milky Way, but neighboring galaxies as well. Thousands of points of light marked human assets across space. Captain Torres, she said, her voice calm despite the magnitude of what was about to happen. I trust the Council made their position clear. David handed her the data chip containing full recordings of the session. They want 3 billion people relocated to 4 systems in 48 hours. They laughed while voting for it. They think we're insects to be swept aside when convenient. Admiral Cross played the recordings, listening to Vraxen's pronouncement and the laughter that followed. Her expression remained neutral, but David knew her well enough to see the cold anger in her eyes. She had spent 30 years building toward this moment, maintaining the careful illusion that humanity was weak and primitive. 48 hours, she said quietly. They really believe we're that helpless. She turned to face the main display. Computer, show current status of all Terran Federation assets. The display exploded with light. Thousands upon thousands of markers appeared across multiple galaxies. David had known humanity's secret was vast, but this exceeded even his expectations. Each point of light represented a colony, a station, a fleet, or a facility that the Council had never detected. Admiral, he said slowly, how many worlds do we actually control? 4,217, she replied. And that count only includes colonies with populations over 10,000. We have another 6,000 outposts and research stations in unexplored space. David tried to comprehend the scale. The Council thought humans occupied 17 systems. The truth was 250 times larger. But how? How did we hide all of this? Admiral Cross smiled. Captain, humanity discovered faster-than-light travel 150 years ago, not 40 years ago as the Council believes. Our first contact with the Zargathi happened when we already had 300 colonies. We realized immediately that revealing our true strength would make us a threat. So we created a fiction. She gestured to the displays. We showed them 17 struggling colonies. We flew ships we deliberately made slow and inefficient. We asked questions we already knew the answers to. We played the role of naive newcomers while we explored regions of space they had never reached. We studied their technology, their weaknesses, their political structures. And we waited. General Marcus Richardson approached, a broad-shouldered man who commanded humanity's hidden fleets. Admiral, all fleet commanders are requesting permission to drop their disguises. The crews have been waiting for this for decades. Cross nodded. Authorization granted. But not yet. We move in coordinated phases. She turned to the tactical display. Commander Silva, status of our embedded assets? Commander Elena Silva, head of intelligence operations, stepped forward. Admiral, we have operatives in key positions throughout Council space. Power grid management, communications networks, traffic control, supply chains. Over the past 30 years, we have placed 12,000 agents in critical infrastructure roles. Many have lived their entire adult lives undercover, waiting for activation orders. David felt a chill of realization. You planned this from the beginning. Every interaction, every treaty, every request for help. It was all preparation. Cross met his eyes. Captain, when we first encountered the Zargathi, they were in the middle of destroying a species called the Varani. Peaceful people, advanced civilization, guilty only of occupying systems the Zargathi wanted. We watched from hidden observation posts as they bombed Varani cities from orbit. 3 billion dead in a month. She pulled up historical footage. The images showed cities burning, populations fleeing, ships firing on defenseless colonies. That was when we understood. The Council does not govern through law or justice. They govern through force and intimidation. Any species too weak to defend itself gets exploited or eliminated. We decided that day that humanity would never be weak. The command center buzzed with activity as final preparations continued. Cross brought up a timeline on the main display. Operation Chimera proceeds in 3 phases. Phase 1 begins in 30 hours. All hidden military assets will simultaneously reveal themselves across Council space. Trade stations transform into fortress complexes. Merchant ships drop their disguises and become warships. Mining colonies unveil their true nature as shipyard facilities. Phase 2 follows immediately, Silva added. Our embedded assets will execute synchronized operations across all major Council worlds. Not attacks but demonstrations of capability. We will take control of power grids, communications and transportation networks for exactly 10 minutes, then release them. The message is clear. We could cripple their infrastructure whenever we choose, but we are showing restraint. And Phase 3, Richardson continued, our fleets move into position around Station Eternal and the Council's major military installations. We do not fire unless fired upon, but we make our strength unmistakably clear. The Council will face a choice. Negotiate with humanity as equals, or discover what happens when they threaten 3 billion humans. Cross pulled up a tactical analysis. According to our intelligence, the Council's fastest military response time is 8 to 12 hours. Our operations complete in 6 hours. By the time they can coordinate any kind of reaction, we will control the strategic situation completely. What about casualties? David asked. Are we talking about starting a full-scale war? Cross shook her head. Our goal is not war. It is respect. We are not the Zargothi. We will not bomb cities or massacre civilians. But we will demonstrate that humanity cannot be pushed around, relocated, or dismissed. If the Council chooses war after seeing our strength, that is their decision. But they will make it with full understanding of what they face. Dr. Yuki Tanaka approached with a data pad. Admiral, final calculations for the reveal are complete. We can execute Phase 1 with minimal risk of detection beforehand. Our stealth technology remains ahead of anything the Council possesses. Cross studied the numbers. Proved. Send activation codes to all assets. Operation Chimera launches in 29 hours 43 minutes. She turned to address the entire command center. Her voice carried to every station. For 150 years, humanity has hidden in plain sight. We played weak while growing strong. We accepted insults while building an empire. We asked for scraps while claiming galaxies. Tomorrow the masquerade ends. The Council will learn that human patience is not weakness. Human humility is not helplessness. And human restraint is not fear. They voted to relocate 3 billion of our people. Instead, they are about to discover that those 3 billion are a fraction of our true population. They laughed at our 17 systems. They will soon see our 4,000 worlds. The command center erupted in controlled activity. Orders flowed to assets across multiple galaxies. Hidden fleets began final preparations. Embedded agents confirmed their readiness. The largest coordinated operation in human history moved toward execution with precision built over decades. David watched it all unfold, still processing the magnitude of what humanity had accomplished. Admiral, what happens after the reveal? The galaxy will never be the same. Cross nodded slowly. No, it will not. But perhaps that is what the galaxy needs. The Council has ruled through intimidation for too long. Too many species have been exploited, relocated, or destroyed. Humanity is strong enough now to demand change. Not through conquest, but through the simple fact that we cannot be ignored or dismissed. She brought up the final message prepared for the Council, scheduled to transmit the moment Phase 1 completed. It read simply, to the Galactic Council, humanity thanks you for making your position clear. We now make ours equally clear. The 17 systems are ours. The 3 billion humans stay exactly where they are. Your 48-hour deadline is rejected. Instead, we offer you 48 hours to reconsider every assumption you have made about our species. Learn quickly. The galaxy has changed. Humanity is no longer asking for permission to exist among the stars. This is our formal notice that we exist, we are strong, and we demand to be treated as equals. Choose your next actions wisely. David read it twice. It was direct, firm, and left no room for misinterpretation. Admiral, they're going to be furious. Cross allowed herself a slight smile. Good. Fury means they are paying attention. For too long they paid us none. She checked the countdown. 29 hours until the galaxy changes forever, Captain. I suggest you get some rest. Tomorrow will be very interesting. David nodded and headed toward the quarters assigned to him. As he walked through corridors filled with purposeful activity, he thought about Counselor Thress and her dismissive words. He thought about Vraxen's casual cruelty. He thought about the laughter that had filled the assembly hall. In 29 hours that laughter would stop. The Council had pushed humanity to reveal its true nature. They had forced this confrontation with their arrogance and contempt. Now they would learn what happens when you corner a species that has been quietly preparing for this exact moment for over a century. David reached his quarters and lay down, but sleep did not come easily. Somewhere above Mars, hidden in the asteroid belt, thousands of ships prepared for deployment. Across the galaxy, agents checked their equipment one final time. On Earth and 4,000 hidden worlds, billions of humans waited for the moment their species would finally stand tall. The Council had given humanity 48 hours to comply with impossible demands. Instead, humanity would use those 48 hours to rewrite the rules of galactic civilization. The masquerade was ending. Tomorrow the galaxy would meet the real humanity, and nothing would ever be the same.